Hi there, I'm Taylor Downs, core contributor at OpenFunction, and right now we're going to take a look at advanced job writing and troubleshooting using the OpenFn jobs interface. So in the last video, we configured OpenDataKit to push new form submissions in real time to OpenFunction. And here we can see one of those form submissions showing up in our inbox. I'll go right to the JSON view so you can see what's happening. Now, first things first, we need to pick out a signature from this message that can trigger the running of our job. And this form ID key value pair looks like the best thing we can use. So I'm going to copy that and switch over to the credentials page. Or, sorry, to the triggers page. We'll see we already have one trigger. It's a message filter trigger, and it was set up for our sample job. But we want to create a new one. The trigger type will not be timer. It will be message filter, and we'll call it ODK event form. We will paste in the JSON that we want to match against from our ODK submission and click Save. Now, this thing is ready to be used in a new job, but of course we don't have one yet, so that's next. We'll click the New button and give ourselves a name. Call this ODK event to Salesforce account with opportunities. Sort of a long name, but I want to be explicit about what we're doing here. The adapter we'll use is the Salesforce adapter. It's set to the latest version, and it will auto-upgrade as new releases are pushed. And we'll choose our ODK event form trigger. The credential, we're going to keep that same Salesforce Sandbox credential. Though, if we wanted, we could, of course, create a new credential. We click into Salesforce and enter a username, security token, password, login URL, etc. So, back to the jobs, ODK event to Salesforce account with opportunities. And you'll see now that that message filter was created successfully, because now if we view this message, we'll see it has potential. That is, it has a valid match, and a job could be run against this. If we ran it right now, nothing would happen because our job isn't particularly interesting. So let's fix that. Click into Edit, and here's where we'll actually describe what's happening in Salesforce. So we said that what we wanted to do was create an account, and that account should have some fields. There should be some data in there. Now, the fields we want to set, just to keep it simple, let's go with name. And we'll put something in here. So if we ran this right now, we would create an account in Salesforce whenever we got one of these ODK form submissions, and the account name would be set to something. But that's not very useful. So what we'll want to do is learn how to actually work our way through the ODK message and pluck out the important information. So let's look at our ODK payload. And you'll notice that all of the good stuff that we want to get at is actually inside this array called data. So what we'll do is, for each item in that data array, and in this case there should just be one, we will perform that create account operation. So I go back to my job here, and I'll give myself a little space, and I'll zoom in so you can see more clearly what I'm doing. I will use the each helper function, and each takes two arguments. It takes a JSON array, and there we'll use data path. So this is saying go into that data array, and for each item in that data array, do something. And here, of course, what we want to do is create our account. Perfect. So if we were to run this right now, we would expect that a single account in Salesforce got created and the account name would be something. But that's not very useful, so let's fix that. Instead of just hard coding a value, what we're going to do is use a value that came from that ODK form submission message. And for that, we'll use the data value helper function. If I check back to this array, I can see that there's a key called event name inside the data array, which might be very useful to use as my Salesforce account name. So I will use data value event name, and now if we save the job and run it, what we would expect is every time a message shows up in our inbox with a form ID events boats cars, we will jump into that data array and create an account in Salesforce whose name should be set to whatever value we find at the event name key. And in that case, it'll be emergency response vehicles. So we're slowly building up the complexity here. All right, next step is we want to actually create, not accounts, but opportunities that are linked to this account. Now, you might think that we could just type another create in here, but the issue is each only takes 2 arguments, and we've supplied both of them, a path and an operation. So if we want to use multiple operations in there, that's just fine, but we'll need to combine them. And when we use this combine operation, we can very nicely fit both creates inside this each data path. All right, we're moving along. So now the second create, it's doing something a little bit more than just creating an opportunity. If we look at the data, and the objective, remember, is to create an opportunity linked to this account for each boat in the boats array. So in order to do that, we'll need to enter the boats array, and we've entered an array before using the each function. So let's see how that works. What we'll do here, instead of just creating the opportunity, is drop in our each. And again, I'll give myself a little bit more room to work. So now each takes a data path, and now we're entering the boats array, and it takes an operation, in this case create, and we know that we'll set some fields, and later we'll have some good info in here. Alright, starting to take a little bit more structure. When we create fields for this opportunity, we will we'll be doing things like setting the opportunity name, and we'll be setting the opportunity close date, and these are all sort of the standard Salesforce fields for opportunity, though you can create any custom fields you want. We'll be setting a field for stage name, and in this case I guess we'll just hard code that into prospecting. As you can see, you're building out the Salesforce object that you're, or rather the Salesforce record that you're gonna insert. And we can actually fill in some of these. So name, let's take the boat name key and drop it in there. Data value should be boat name, and I mean, I guess we don't have a close date, so we could actually set one if we wanted, and we could go data value date. Now this is interesting. We do allow message payloads to be edited. It's very useful for troubleshooting if you receive data which does not jive with your Salesforce system or your DHIS2 system or wherever you're sending it. Most cases, what you'll want to do is change that form and make sure the two match up. But in some cases, that would provide a logistical nightmare. And we can actually go back in and make edits to this payload. Here, let's say 2017 02/27, and we'll drop that date key in for both of the items in this array, and we'll save it. And of course, we'll store a copy of the original so you can revert it back, and we'll let everybody know that you've modified this payload. But that can be incredibly useful as you need to troubleshoot sort of past submissions that aren't getting all the way through. Okay, so now we have moved into the boats array, and we're creating an opportunity. We've given it a name, we've given it a close date, we've even given it a stage name, but this opportunity is not yet linked to the account that we just created. And if we had some sort of external ID for this account, we could use the relationship helper, and I'll actually drop that in. We could pick out the destination relationship name. In this case, I guess it would be account ID. We'd pick out some external ID on that account object, and then we'd pick out the source data or value from our payload, and we could match it that way really nicely. This is not a luxury that we have because we don't know anything about the account other than the fact that we just created it. So here we'll actually use a sort of a helper function that is built into the execution of the job, and it will pick out the last reference value for whatever object we just created. So in this case, what we want to do is actually create the account in Salesforce, then store the Salesforce ID of that account and use it later. So what we're going to do is we are going to, and here I'll keep that, that's fine down there. So still store the Salesforce ID of that account and use it later. When we set up our each, instead of just diving into the boats array, first what we're going to do is we're going to actually merge in this new Salesforce ID, so we have access to it in the array. So the first function is a merge, and merge takes a data path. In this case, it's our boats data path. It also then takes a set of fields that you want to build inside of that data path. And inside fields, you can set as many as you want. These are the key value pairs that you see on field everywhere else. So within the boats array, we want to create a new field, a new key value pair, and the key will be, in our case, parent ID. This is the ID of the last object we inserted into Salesforce, and we want to store it and use it for later. After we've set the key, we need to set the value, and here we'll use last reference value. And remember, all of the functions at your fingertips are documented on our OpenFn docs site. You'll see reference to them in the forums and in the example jobs. But if at any point in time you feel like you can't accomplish something with the tools that have been provided, it's important to know that you also have the ability to simply write your own custom functions. This is the open function part of OpenFunction. So if there wasn't a handy helper to pluck out the last reference value ID from this Salesforce record we inserted, we could actually define a new function which takes state and simply does something. Maybe it returns true or false, or it performs some string operation. Any of this stuff is available to you, and you still have access to state.configuration, you have access to state.data, and you have access to state.references. So if you ever find yourself stuck, you can revert back to plain old vanilla JavaScript. So we are setting the parent ID to whatever the value of the last thing we inserted was, and now it appears we are finally ready to run this thing. So let's see. We're each merge, and after this merge, we will run a create, and now finally we'll need to set the relationship. Instead of using relationship, we will just give it a regular old field and set account ID equal to what we now have, this beautiful new key value parent ID. So we're actually accessing this new key that we just created by building it into our boats array. And what we're hoping is that this thing now creates an account in Salesforce and 2 opportunities that are child to that account. We want the names of those opportunities to be, let's check our data, to be Rapid Response Boat and Dinghy. We want the name of the event itself, or the account itself, to be Events, Boats, Cars. And we want to see that the date, the stage name, and the account ID are all properly set. So let's run this thing and take a read through the server response from Salesforce. We will hit save, go to the inbox, and run this ODK event to Salesforce account job. Cool, we got a success message coming back. Let's check it out. So we'll scroll down and actually view the server logs. And what we can see is that OpenFunction logged in as demo at OpenFn.org. It created an account called Emergency Response Vehicles. Let's check to see that it's actually there. There it is. Great. After it created that account, it returned the ID 9QAA. Next, we created an opportunity called Rapid Response Boat. It was linked to the correct account 9QAA, and then we created another opportunity, Dinghy, that was set to the same account, 9QAA. So we should see 3 records created, all successful, no errors in the error array, and we should be good to go. I will click back over to Salesforce, scroll down a little bit, and sure enough, we see a Rapid Response Boat, stage prospecting, close date February 27th, and the same for Dinghy. So this worked. What I wanna be clear on is that the process of building these jobs is entirely open-ended, and you can increase the complexity by writing custom functions, and you can also increase the length by dealing with very large custom objects and forms. What most people do, which is what we've done in this particular implementation, is start with a sandbox and keep running your job with all of its errors until it gets to be absolutely perfect, and then you can deploy it to production. I'll give you an example of an error message that we might see. If we click into this particular run and go to the job, we can actually break it. So if we say create an account and then create an opportunity and hit save, we will expect that when we run this again, we'll get an error message. Great, an error message in 2000 milliseconds. And it says simply the requested resource does not exist. There's nothing called an opportunity. These error messages we're getting back from Salesforce are really useful. Again, we can set opportunity correct, but maybe we can maybe this time we can botch the data value. So instead of event name, let's call it an event name. Hit save, run this thing, and we should see that we get an account name undefined. And sure enough, we do. That's a required field in Salesforce, so we won't be able to create the account or proceed with the rest of the job until we fix it. We'll go back in, edit it, set it properly, hit save, and run this sucker one more time, We should get the success message again. Great, we have. So this is the advanced job writing and troubleshooting demo. And please, if you have any questions, find me on the forums. Please don't hesitate to submit open issues to our GitHub account. And happy integrating. Thanks very much. Bye.